So I got a question from our buddy Finn, and they say, what is the best time to meditate? Is it in the early hours of the morning or in the evening or any other time in between? And I actually have some very specific advice for this question, which is going to really help you not just with meditation, but with everything else as well. So by the way, I know this isn't about lucid dreaming. It's kind of going to relate back to this. I mean, if you're new here, I'm Steph. I teach lucid dreaming and consciousness, but this specific video is about meditation and brainwave frequencies. Now, I'm going to answer the question very briefly now and say that the best time to meditate is there are two times, okay? First thing in the morning, and also every time you have been in a stressful situation, after you've been in that stressful situation, then meditate. Now, that's the basic answer. Those of you who are interested in just that, you can probably click away now, go on my channel, watch something else. Anyone who wants a more detailed answer, as well as one particular warning about the morning meditation session, stick around. So all throughout the day and night, our brains operate in different frequencies, different ranges of frequencies known as brainwave frequency states, brainwave states. And these frequencies do different things. They allow different parts of your brain to function. They allow levels of access to your subconscious mind. And it's incredibly important to realize this and to bear in mind when and how you do certain things throughout the day. Now, a clear example of this is when you first wake up in the morning, your brain is in what we call alpha. The alpha brainwave state is between 7.5 and 14 hertz. Hertz is basically how you measure brainwaves and how fast they're running, basically. So it's measured in cycles per second. And like I said, alpha is 7.5 to 14 hertz or cycles per second, and you are in alpha when you first wake up. Now, what does this mean? Okay, so if you're trying to focus on something, if you're trying to do or study something or learn something, alpha is where you want to be. Okay, alpha is like literally the top. Alpha means the first, the best way or the best state to be in, because it allows you to have enhanced learning. You can focus on something, but you're not being distracted by all of these different things. You're focused on one thing and you're able to connect the two hemispheres of your brain, the left and right hemisphere. Most of the time we're in the left hemisphere, left brain. And what you want to do is to be able to synchronize the two hemispheres of the brain and use both of them at the same time in what we call flow state. Now, flow state is where you have both hemispheres of the brain functioning at the same time, sharing information and ideas, and they are connected via the bridge in the middle of the two hemispheres called the corpus callosum. Incredibly important state to be in. And flow state, for those of you who don't know, is where you basically lose track of time. You lose track of any other distractions and ideas, and you focus just on the one thing that you do want to do. Now, flow state is the goal, the holy grail for learning and studying, focusing. But here's one incredibly powerful warning for you, okay? By being in alpha, by being in the alpha state, you open up your subconscious mind. And so that's one of the reasons you're able to achieve flow state, is by letting the subconscious mind flood into your conscious awareness and connect different ideas from all kinds of different parts of your brain, from your memories, and mix them together into a sparkling kind of cocktail of really interesting stuff. Now, the danger of that is that when you're in alpha brainwave state, you are very open to suggestion. Any ideas and concepts and things that you hear or experience when you're in alpha state will be absorbed by your subconscious brain like a sponge. And this is why the first thing you should do when you wake up is do not look at your phone. Don't consume any media. Don't watch the TV. Don't turn on the news, okay? That is the absolute worst time to do that because you will absorb those ideas and beliefs like a sponge. So it's great for meditation because the goal of meditation is to get into either alpha or theta. The theta is for really kind of deep meditation. Most of us won't be doing that because most people don't meditate for more than about 10 minutes. If you really want to get into theta, and even delta in some extreme cases, then you need to be spending more time meditating. That's when you want to look at things like mind machines, like binaural beats. By the way, there are some links in the description if you want to go that deep. But most of you will just want to meditate and get into alpha brainwave state. Now, this is great for meditation. And in that sense, you should meditate first thing in the morning because you're kind of already there. You're already waking up in alpha. So if the first thing you do when you wake up is to meditate, you're already in that brainwave frequency range. So it's going to be fairly easy to stay there. Now, why would you want to meditate after a stressful situation? Well, here's the main benefit of meditation. It reverses and reduces aging by lengthening your telomeres. By increasing your telomeres, you reverse or slow down the aging process. So what happens if you imagine telomeres like the caps on the ends of your shoelaces, the little plastic caps on the end of the shoelaces. When the cap is gone, the shoelace kind of frays and decays and splinters out into all these different pieces. With the cap there, or the telomere in this case, your chromosomes, or the shoelace, is protected. So it doesn't really decay as fast, it's protected against that. So by meditating, you lengthen your telomeres. You basically strengthen the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes, which helps reverse or slow down the aging process. So why do you care about that? Well, in relation to stress is one of the biggest factors for aging and for health in general. Okay, stress, and in particular chronic stress, is a very dangerous thing to experience on a long-term basis because it will damage your cells, it will make your immune system weaker, your motivation levels will drop, you'll get all kinds of health problems if you have chronic stress. Now, chronic stress is usually caused by one or two things every day. It might be like you get cut up in traffic, you might, not be able to park properly, your boss shouts at you, okay, something stressful happens and you let that stress sit there all day and you don't let it go. Some people just can't let things go easily. It's easier with practice, but what you should really do is every time you know you are stressed, you're in a stressful situation, you're annoyed, you're angry, take a minute to calm down. When you think you've calmed down, that's when you should meditate. When you think you've already calmed down. So if you try and meditate in the middle of being angry, you're not really going to be able to do it. It's going to be quite difficult. But if you wait until after you think you've calmed down and then you meditate, you're going to massively reduce that stress response. Your hormonal response will lower down and calm down, and you will massively decrease your stress levels. You'll get back into alpha and away from beta. So really what happens when you're stressed is your brainwaves go into beta, but you're also really stressed and you have all kinds of stress hormones running through your body. Now what you need to do is to meditate after you've been stressed, bring yourself back to alpha and calm down. Now you can meditate just before going to bed as well. However, I wouldn't recommend doing this just before going to bed. I like to meditate about an hour or so before I go to sleep. But you can also meditate as a sort of like a bridge between your working life and your relaxing life in the evening. So to answer the question at the beginning, very simply, okay, the best time to meditate after a stressful situation, first thing in the morning and about an hour or so before you go to sleep. That's when you're going to get the most benefits. But I really want to just emphasize the alpha brainwave state. Don't consume content, don't look at your phone, don't do anything which could have ideas or concepts that you do not want in your subconscious mind when you're in the alpha brainwave state. So in particular, after you've meditated, the sort of like the first half an hour after you finish meditating, do not check your social media, don't watch videos on YouTube, don't do any of that stuff, because there is always a risk that there will be something or some idea, some concept, some belief that will be embedded there, that will be stuck in your subconscious mind because you're in that alpha brainwave state. The alpha state is basically like you're opening your subconscious mind and saying, I'm going to take in any information right now. So it's great if you want to learn something. If you're trying to learn, if you're trying to learn a language, if you're trying to focus on stuff, then you want the alpha brainwave state to be there because you want your subconscious mind to be engaged. You want it to absorb things. So it's great for language learning, great for focusing and studying, but terribly dangerous if you're consuming media or content with negative messages, programming, things you don't want to have in your brain and in your subconscious mind, negative beliefs and all of those dangerous things like that. For most of you, just meditate in the morning for about 10 to 15 minutes with some binaural beats as well. I'll put links to all of this in the description, by the way. And if you really want to go deeper with your meditation, I would advise you to check out Mind Machines. They're a really powerful way of, you know how, like I said before, that when you meditate, you're taking your brainwaves from beta, which is like you're focused and you're thinking critically, but you're also stressed. You're also thinking about everything else you have to do. It's a great brainwave state to be in for socializing and, day-to-day activities. But if you're trying to focus on something or meditate, if you're trying to do those higher brain activities, those more important things, you need to be in alpha. And by the way, if you want to meditate even deeper, you need to be in theta or delta. Now, to get to those brainwave states, typically you would have to meditate for about half an hour or more. Usually it's more than an hour to get down into delta, okay? And that's for someone who's experienced at meditating. If you want to shortcut that, if you want to reach theta or delta without having to spend an hour, there is a device called a mind machine, meditation machine, or a light and sound machine. Basically, it's like some goggles that you put on and some headphones that you put on, and it's connected up to this device which has a track list. And these tracks are synchronized and produced to synchronize the effect of in the goggles there are loads of flashing lights, different colored flashing lights, and then the headphones played binaural beats. Binaural beats are a great way of creating what we call a frequency following response in your brain. What this means is you hear this kind of sound, these tones, right, slightly different frequencies, one played in each ear through stereo headphones, and they create a frequency following response which makes your brainwaves kind of follow along with that. So if you listen to it for long enough, you'll reach that brainwave state. Now, a mind machine combines the binaural beats with a visual stimuli, Gansfield frames, or the flashing colored lights basically synchronized perfectly to the binaural beats, which makes your brainwave, it's hard to explain really, but it basically turns your brainwaves into the brainwaves that you want them to be a lot faster. So without struggling over a way to explain that, imagine that you're going to be able to plug this thing in for 5 minutes and get the same effect of an hour of meditation. Mind machines are really powerful, and like I said, links to those are in the description. You should check them out, they're pretty cool.